We will be going live in five, four, three, two, one. We're live.
Good morning, Owasso. This is the Twins with Owasso Live, and this is the Morning Loop. It's currently 8 a.m. like normal. It is. Oh gosh, I didn't even pull up the temperature outside right now. Hold tight. It is currently 72 degrees outside, and we got a high of 92 degrees today. So I don't know if you were outside at all yesterday, but my goodness, it was hot and humid. So it's going to be another one of those days today. It's going to be even hotter tomorrow. So be prepared. Summer has finally gotten here. It looks like it will cool off a little bit next week, but as of right now, the next 2 days are looking hot, muggy. So if you got a pool open and available to you, go to the pool or do something some fun outside activities. But make sure you're hydrating and drinking water and staying near shade because it is going to be miserably hot this weekend. So with that being said, traffic conditions going into Tulsa are fair. I mean, again, it's Friday. Folks, guess don't go into Tulsa on Friday or don't work on Fridays. I don't know what's going on. So that's the deal. Friday is a slow traffic day, so everything's good on that end. I know we got the Artisans Market, and I think the Gathering of the Main happened yesterday, so
It did.
it did. But yeah,
We missed it.
we missed it. We should have been down there, but we were pulling some work and lawn mowing stuff. We just wanted to get some stuff done. That way our weekend was a little bit more freed up. So maybe we'll try to go next time. But with that being said, I guess in national news, yesterday was obviously uh, the D-Day anniversary. So
The real reason June matters, not Pride.
yeah.
D-Day.
So again, yeah, that's just the obnoxiousness of Pride. It's too long. Pride is too long. That's a month is too much for homosexuality representation. You get a day. Heck, you should only get half a day because you're such a small percentage of the population. You know, I mean, black folks in America were slaves, and they only get Juneteenth, really. I mean, I guess they get Black History Month, so.
Yeah, February is
But,
Black History Month.
but yeah, I mean, what a month for Pride, nonsense. But anyway, so D-Day, you know, the famous airborne drops, the invasion of France and Normandy. You know, probably some of the coolest parts and coolest moments in our country's history happened in that. Some of the coolest figures and people that have ever lived. I mean, all I did yesterday is like whenever I was making my phone calls and going through work, I just had stories of World War II veterans playing in the background, and my gosh, those guys were animals, man. They just give get a good group of guys together, and man, they can accomplish anything. And that's what those guys in World War II did. Heroes, all of them. But the real reason we're talking about that is because Biden, our president, went to a D-Day memorial ceremony in France, and boy, oh howdy, did he embarrass himself and our country on stage. Um, the media doesn't scrutinize this enough, but if you're coming at it from the most generous perspective, I mean, what would you say happened, Chad? I mean, if you were being generous, what would you say happened?
If I'm being the most generous that you could possibly be, it looks like he thought maybe there was a chair there for a split second and was trying to sit down.
But he didn't turn around and look for it.
Exactly. So that's being very gentle. If the big joke that we've all seen is it looks like he's
crapped his pants on stage in front of everyone.
Exactly. He literally
he crapped in front of the veterans, folks. Men older than him sitting behind him, and he's just up there crapping on stage. But again, it's all speculation. We can't tell. But everybody's been saying if you have a toddler, you know exactly what that little move that he does is. So play this video, and we'll come back on you on the other end.
You got it.
Handshake. Oh, something's happening.
A few moments later.
Now, that was obviously edited into that video, but the actual footage of him at the D-Day ceremony before it cuts to that a few moments later, that's real. Like, that's on stage. He was ushered immediately off stage after that happened. So, put two and two together. What do you think happened? I mean, if he's not... The whole point of being there is for him to meet and greet the veterans with the French president. They're supposed to go around, shake hands, and kiss babies, do all that nonsense, the old song and dance of politicians. But, I mean, Jill grabs him, and they immediately exit the stage. And do you wonder why? It's because there's probably crap running down his leg. Jill's probably sitting there and can smell him. So, if I had to logically say what happened, that's what I personally think happened. But I mean, I guess the Steel Man is maybe he was having tummy issues before, and he's like, maybe Jill just saw the signs because she knows. But again, he's not capable of just walking himself off stage. He'll be like, "Hey, I'll be right back, everybody," but he never returned. And if he never returned, it must have not just been a quick bathroom break. It must have been, "Hey, we have to change clothes." I'll be thrilled to see what the Secret Service people who worked with him write about him later on. Because, it's like they interview the people that were with Bush, and despite the fact if you don't like Bush as a president, all the Secret Service loved him. The Secret Service did not like the Clintons.
Al Gore. They
hated
Al Gore.
Yeah, they hated Al Gore. I don't know. I think they were pretty neutral with the Obamas. But I'll be interested to see what the Secret Service and the people that work directly with him say. Obviously, it'll be ones who have to retire, people who are no longer in that field, because if you want to keep that job, I imagine you have to have some level of decorum when it comes to public secrets or keeping the secrets of the people you work for. So, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, what do you think happened? I mean, I am sitting perfectly content saying I think the most logical explanation is the dude lost control of his bowels on stage.
And this isn't the first accusation he's
Yeah, it allegedly happened when he met the Pope, too, because he went and met with the Pope, and then he was there much longer than expected. When he came out, he had a different set of clothes on. Look, and it's no shame. Like, the guy, he's old. Like, I mean, this happens to old people. I had a grandpa who passed away not too long ago. The guy couldn't control his bowels either. My other grandpa had a cancer and was on a walker. He couldn't always make it to the restroom. It's what happens when you get old. So there's nothing to be ashamed of. But however, that right there goes to show you what his ability to lead.
Yes. Well, that and the fact that the media would not get, if this was Trump up there and he did something like this, they would.
No, it'd be into the world.
They would not give him the
national embarrassment. The articles would already be written.
Mm-hmm. They give Joe Biden every benefit of the doubt physically possible, and anybody else, if it was a Republican or Donald Trump's like, look at this fool up on stage. He embarrassed the nation in front of the world.
Yeah, it's really amazing how different, like I said again, but we've known this for years, that how amazingly different the media treats Democrats and Republicans. There is no sympathy. There is no, what's the better word for it, Chad? There is no grace granted to the Republicans. Zero grace granted. It's just all partisan hackery when it comes to media outlines, or media headlines, excuse me. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know how to say. I mean, he crapped up there on stage in front of veterans and was escorted off stage and never returned because he had to change clothes. I mean, what do you do in that situation? What else can you do? You're like, well, good luck, Macron, Mr. French president. The French president has no clue what's going on. He just goes around and starts doing what Biden's supposed to be doing, shaking hands with veterans, saying hello, thanking them for their service, thanking them for being some of the bravest and toughest men that ever existed and lived. So, yeah, that's what you got. Well, yeah, what do you think? I mean, what do y'all think happened? I mean, I know where I stand. Am I being too cruel? Or do you think that there's some merit to this accusation here? I know I'm not the only one that thinks this. It's all over the Twitterverse. It's all over social media. I know the media is still running cover for him, but it is what it is. So anyway, but yeah, it's a shame that he embarrassed us and embarrassed himself out there in France. Indeed, at the D-Day memorial ceremony. But he's an old man. What do you expect? What do you expect?
Not much out of him anymore. The fact that he gets out of bed every morning is about as far as I expect.
Yeah, it's amazing he gets around. Amazing he's able to get up and get around. So good for him. I guess it's good for him he's able to get out of bed. Now, I guess we'll push on to
More culture-related news.
yeah, more. So yeah, we're gonna try to keep it more fun and light on Friday. Like it'll be just like a plethora of hopefully just videos and stuff. So like that Biden stuff. Despite the fact it's a national embarrassment and disgrace, it's still funny. If you can't laugh at yourself, what's the point of living? So
I want to ask you both because this is
right now. I don't know if you guys are. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Huge. I grew up with it. I played. I came in on the my parents had all the movies, so I was able to watch the movies. I remember watching the first one and being like, "This is the coolest thing ever."
I want to ask you both because
and then watching the second one and being borderline traumatized by the ending, and then watching the greatest redemption arc for a villain ever, with Luke redeeming his dad. Darth Vader. So that was awesome. So great movie trilogy. So then you had the prequels, and the prequels obviously weren't fantastic films, but I was young when I saw them, so I was entertained by them. I thought the pod racing stuff was good. I think episode 1 gets more hate than it deserves. I think the second one is probably the slowest one in my opinion, right up until the last 20, 30 minutes of the movie. But that one drags, the second movie. It really, really drags. Horribly paced. So I think I like the first episode 1 and episode 3 better than I like episode 2, but still entertaining, and they feel like Star Wars. George Lucas kept the tone of the films good, and then Disney took over. And Chad and I disagree. I mean, when I watched the Force Awakens, the one that J.J. Abrams did, the first Disney Star Wars film, I was like, it's really not bad. And then you take a step back and you start thinking about it, you go, it's really not that good of a movie. It's actually kind of boring. There's no substance. It's like all J.J. Abrams films. There's no substance. It's all style, no substance. There's nothing there. And it's basically a shot-for-shot remake of the original film, just with different characters. So, and then we both agree here, the day Star Wars died was when The Last Jedi came out.
Yes.
So, yeah, that was the day Star Wars died.
Yeah. And, yeah, for the Force Awakens, I've told you, it just made more money than any other film to that point.
Mm-hmm.
And it gave Star Wars fans what they wanted, which unfortunately at that point was just the old school Star Wars, which was a shot-for-shot remake of A New Hope. Now, I'm not saying that it's the best movie in the world. I'm just saying it gave the Star Wars fans at that point what they wanted.
Yeah.
And it's still a bad movie. Yeah, it's the first time I ever fell asleep watching a Star Wars movie in a movie theater when we went back to watch it for the second or third time.
I wanted to walk out 3 or 4 times. I've never walked out of a movie. There's only 2 movies I've ever considered walking out of. One was a film called The Dead Don't Die with Adam Driver and Bill Murray, who I love both those actors, but the film was just boring. It was horribly paced, and I was like, this is bad. The Dead Don't Die. It's a zombie comedy kind of film, which you think would satirical zombie comedy film, and you thought it would be good, but man, it just bored me to death, and I was like, this is really awful. The only other movie I ever considered doing that was The Last Jedi. I was ready to walk out of that theater because the film was just so bad. And then I'm sitting there watch Luke Skywalker. We heard the ramblings from Mark Hamill throughout in his issues with the director. He was going, I don't recognize Luke. I don't recognize this character anymore. But
the character that basically defined his career.
Yeah. And I'm sitting there watching, and I was like, this is not Luke Skywalker. I mean, he's just this grumpy old curmudgeon, and I thought the backstory that they created for him in the fall of Kylo Ren was just dumb. And it's all Luke's fault. Luke was tempted to strike down his nephew because his nephew might lead a rebellion against him, man. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the Star Wars expanded universe, the books I grew up reading as a kid. Those are what Star Wars were. They still felt like Star Wars. It still felt like Luke Skywalker and all these books that you would watch and that I would read. And now the Disney stuff decanonized all of that and said, no, this is what Luke is now. This is who Luke is now. He's just loser curmudgeon who tried to kill his own nephew and doesn't want to save the galaxy, doesn't want to be a part of the world anymore. So I was like, what is this? This is not Luke Skywalker. This is not Star Wars. It doesn't feel like Star Wars anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's just character assassination. I was like, oh.
Yeah, and then this show apparently like destroys like the lore and canon of the Jedi.
Oh, you're talking about the Acolyte?
Yeah, the
So
Acolyte
we'll get to
now.
the Acolyte here in a minute. So you had The Last Jedi. I didn't even watch The Rise of Skywalker. Still haven't seen it. So I don't think I ever will. Star Wars died to me that day on a. That sounds dramatic, but I mean it really was bad, like really bad.
Yeah.
And then they came out with Star Wars. The last really good Star Wars movie they made was
Rogue One.
Rogue One.
Yeah.
One was really pretty decent. I didn't think the characters were well developed, but and they ham-fisted in those Chinese characters because they were trying to market the film to China, and we should never try to market Star Wars films to China because that is a cultural phenomenon that missed China because the original Star Wars is about rebellion and rising up against the government. What is China like? They do not like the idea of people rising up against the government. So it's a film franchise that just can't take off because the principles that are preached in Star Wars, rebellion and stand up for righteousness and good, like China's like, no one rises up to the government in this country. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that is a movie about rebelling against your government. Yeah, there is no such thing as that in China.
And they hand-fisted those Asian characters in it, and they weren't bad, but they weren't great either. There was no substance to the vast majority of the characters there. And there were so many characters, it was hard to keep track and hard to care when characters got picked off. The character you were the saddest about getting killed was the droid. Was the Imperial droid.
Yeah, true.
So I would say Gareth Edwards, and like I said, Gareth Edwards is the guy that directed the original American Godzilla back in 2004. So I'm a big fan of Gareth Edwards. I liked his feature film Monsters as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, and then you had Solo, and Solo was terrible. Solo, a Star Wars story. Now, like I said, if you took Star Wars out of it and just made it a standard popcorn action adventure film, it would stand decently on its own. But when it has you have a character like Han Solo and his origin story, and that was a terrible Han Solo origin story. Terrible. Let's make Han Solo, but let's make him a loser,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was not the best.
Yeah, and then
movie.
they just put Darth Maul in it just to have the member berries for Darth Maul in the end. So it was just like it was really dumb. Very, very dumb. Very, very dumb. I said again, it's a decent popcorn action flick, but with the fact that it had Star Wars in the name and a character as popular as Han Solo, it was just not a good film for what it was. And they had the trans droid they made Lando droid sexual.
Yeah. Said he was pansexual, that Lando was
He was attracted to droids and all other people. So, just again, more character assassination. I remember even Billy D was like, they were explaining what they did to Lando, and he was like, what? Like Billy D was like, why would you do that? That's so dumb. But they're just the modern culture would look at him like, he's just too old. He doesn't get it. It's like, no, that's his character. He cultivated it. Billy D made Lando Calrissian one of the coolest characters that had not a whole lot of screen time in the second film. Just like a cool character. He did so much with so little.
Mm-hmm. He did. He really did. And he's one of the most,
iconic
Star Wars characters.
Yeah. Like I said, not an original character from the franchise, and then came in the second movie and kind of outshined a lot of the other characters in the film. He stands out on his own. He's that well written. He was that well performed. He was a character that had goals and motivations. And that's a big problem with a lot of the new Star Wars stuff is the writing's so bad. None of the characters have any real motivations other than, I'm a hero and I want to save the galaxy. Okay. So, I mean, that's basically Luke's goal, but Luke is, in the original film, is us. Luke is the character we identify with because he's just the boring farm kid that wants to live a bigger life. So there's not a lot to him other than the fact that he's this green slate that wants to go out and experience adventure in the galaxy. He's like us. We want to experience this adventure with him. So Luke is the vessel, the vehicle the story is told through. Or the character that we can identify with. So, but yeah, so the Solo was bad, and then you had, I think what saved Star Wars for a little bit, and only for a little bit, was The Mandalorian. Mandalorian Season 1 and 2, although not fantastic by any stretch of the mind, they felt enough like Star Wars, and they were entertaining enough and well-written enough that people enjoyed it, and it felt good. It felt good to watch. They were entertaining, and even I watched The Mandalorian. Now, Season 3 really took a dump on the characters. And the Book of Boba Fett, don't even get me started. That was just awful. Mm-hmm. Every second of that show was awful.
Yeah. Well, the problem is with Disney, it seems to be, is they find somebody who actually cares about Star Wars. They make a decent show or movie, and then they decide that
we need to wokeify it. Yeah. Bring in a bunch of diverse writers and people of color and just forget about story. People want to see diversity. That's what makes good for good storytelling is diversity, not good storytelling. Good storytelling is secondary to shoving in ideology and diversity.
Yep. Well, I've got these videos queued up if you want me to pull them up.
Yeah, so now the newest Star Wars thing that's been released is called The Acolyte, and it's about, I don't even know what it's about. It's supposed to be about the dark Jedi who fight against the Sith. Yeah. Or fight against the Jedi, excuse me. Sith or dark Jedi that fight against the Jedi. So, this is what the show's about, but it's not. The show is not about Star Wars, and it's not about anything. Go ahead and play the video, and we'll come back on the other end.
Because this is, I would say, arguably the gayest Star Wars, I think, by a considerable margin. And are you excited about that? Are you bracing yourself? Not the gayest Star Wars. Not the. It's pretty gay. Let's be honest. Leslie, how do you feel?
Am I gay? Yes.
Well, no, I know you are gay, but I'm asking, are you excited about putting this, this is going to be a talking point.
Is it going to be a talking point?
I'm sure so.
Because nerds are gay.
Well, some nerds are very not gay and are very threatened by gay
Well, that's true. But in my world, nerds are gay.
Okay. Was this the fun element of it?
No, I don't think so. And yet people have told me that it's the gayest Star Wars, and I frankly...
As an insult or as like a description?
No. I think that Star Wars is so gay already.
Okay.
I mean, have you seen the fits? We'd be like, look how gay this is, and then send each other a reference photo.
And are you telling me, with a straight face, that C-3PO is straight?
They're a couple. That's what I think. Robot. But this is more outward.
I think it's canon that R2-D2 is a lesbian.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Ask Filoni. Okay.
Ask Filoni.
People are writing the show and they don't even know what's canon. I think it's canon.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So, the gayest Star Wars ever. So, the show is talking... They're not talking about the show in that interview. They're talking about the gay characters in the story. They're talking about the gayness and the woke ideology in that show. Again, this is what happens when you have bad writers and bad prescriptions and ideologies being put into a film. It's like you don't talk about what the story narrative is. You talk about what ideology and what diversity initiatives are cramming into the show. Like, what if a good character's in there that happens to be gay? The story will just be like, okay, yeah, I can identify with that character. But they don't care because it's not about whether or not that character's well written. It's about, oh no, the character's gay and that's their whole character's personality. That's what's wrong again with the modern pride movement. All these pride parades, like my whole identity is wrapped up in being gay. It's like a lot of the gay dudes are the classy gay dudes like Dave Rubin and like Doug Smurfy's like the fact that I'm gay is the least interesting part about me, is what they say. Like, I'm more concerned with you thinking, oh, wow, famous author, Douglas Murray. Wow, famous news show host, Dave Rubin. Like, comedian, Dave Rubin. That's what they want to be known by. They don't want to be known, oh, yeah, you're that gay guy. Oh, how bad would that be? I mean, like, imagine if all people knew you for as a person was, oh, yeah, you're that straight guy. Well, okay, well, that's cool. I mean, I guess I'm just another face in the crowd. You know, it's like, I mean, what do you want to be as a gay person? Oh, yeah, you're just a gay. You're that gay guy. So that's the problem. They're just throwing that in there. It's like, oh, this character's gay, so all gay people will just love them automatically. It's like, wow, I feel so represented. What happens if that gay character in there is just a blank piece of wood? You can't identify with them. They don't have any struggles. It's like, oh, you're immediately accepted and everyone loves you. Like, that's why we watch shows. I mean, why do you think movies about people who are oppressed or people who are trying to overcome something are so entertaining to watch? Because they're overcoming a struggle regardless of their circumstance. It's like, oh, nope, we're just going to throw this in there. Like, this character's gay, and he's in a gay. And again, the Jedi are supposed to be devoid of relationships and attachments. So Sith can have relationships and attachments, but I mean, if they're smart, they'll be like, it'll be used against you by your master or your opponents and rivals.
That's right.
But the Jedi, it's like, so if there's like a gay Jedi walking around, it's like, why does that matter? He shouldn't have attachments to anyone anyway.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's partially since we haven't really watched the show. Mm-hmm. That's what I've been seeing is like, it's like the Jedi are these repressive, you know.
Oh, so the Jedi.
Yeah, the Jedi are kind of the bad guys in the show, from my understanding, and then like the Sith are trying to free them from their oppression.
My God! So let's make the bad guys the good guys. And this is what Disney's been doing here lately. It's just crap. You know, it's deconstructing the villains and making the villains the good guys or the anti-heroes. Like with Maleficent. Like, if you guys remember the Maleficent with Angelina Jolie, like the original Maleficent in the what was Sleeping Beauty, right?
Yes.
She was the closest representation of the devil we'd ever seen put on screen.
She was ranked as the most evil Disney villain in any movie history.
And then they come in with the Angelina live action remake, and they go, "Oh, it was the king that really wronged her, and that's why she turned out to be this hateful." And she was never really hateful or mean. It's like they deconstructed probably the best villain ever created, who was just like, "I'm evil for evil's sake." She turned into a dragon. That's the closest representation of the devil you can get embodied. It's like she's a giant dragon, and she's going to do bad things and prevent good from prevailing. But yeah, no, I mean, it's like, okay, now the Sith are the good guys and the Jedi are the bad guys, and we're going to deconstruct Star Wars and crap on it and serve it on a plate to the audience and say, if you don't like this, you're the problem.
Yeah. Well, and also it's like these people don't even know anything about Star Wars, as you can see for the next video, right?
Oh, yeah, go ahead and play that next video, and we'll kind of wrap up.
You can't look and see that Anakin blowing up the Death Star possibly killed millions and millions of people.
Incorrect.
You should just shut up.
It's just like,
shut up. I love him. You should shut up.
I'm going to get in trouble for saying this. But if you can't look and...
Yeah, so all these actors come in and say, I'm a huge fan of Star Wars. I love Star Wars. I watched it ever since I was a little kid. Anakin did not blow up the Death Star. His son Luke did. This is like one of these gay actors they hired to be like, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I've been a huge fan my whole life, and now I'm playing a Jedi in the show, and I'm cool now, and I'm part of the cultural zeitgeist of Star Wars, and I'll forever be remembered in Star Wars history. Well, I guess that's true, but you're also going to be remembered as the guy that fumbled this online. And he didn't just, like, this is just one interview. He's done this on multiple interviews where he said Anakin's the one that blew it. Anakin blew up, like, one of the Trade Federation droid ships and several ships throughout the Clone Wars, if you watch the animated series of the Clone Wars. But the Death Star, the most iconic villain ship in Star Wars history, not so much.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, it's offensive to Star Wars fans and true people of the fandom. I mean, and what else is offensive is, like I said, Disney's canonized extended universe that they have now. Like, it is offensive to us that they decanonized all the extended universe stuff, all the books that were written after after the Return of the Jedi and all the expanded universe lore, but now it's like it's all gone. We didn't have anything, and then Kathleen Kennedy, the leader of Disney, was like, "We don't have anything to work with because there's nothing to go off of." And it's like, no, there's crap tons of stuff to go off of. I'll give you my favorite books and send them to you, lady.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it's a shame that Star Wars is dead, and it's just now they're just gaying it up, But what was the quote from J.R. Tolkien?
J.R. Tolkien said that evil cannot create; it can only destroy.
There you go, and that's what Disney's doing. And it's an evil corporation that's hired a bunch of talentless actors or talentless writers who are just destroying what's left of the Star Wars legacy, and they're just trying to milk a dead cow. So that's about all we've got for you today. This has been the Twins with Owasso Live, and this was the Morning Loop. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you too can stay in the loop. God bless y'all.
See you later, everybody.
Oh.